Welcome to Poets from the Neighborhood. I am VeerajaR.
And I'm Bruce Jennings. We hope you enjoy the poems we'll be reading today, poems written by your friends and neighbors. Our first poem is entitled IC'u Family Meeting by Brian W. Christman. This poem was published in the medical journal The Pharos in the spring of 2020. After my sermon about the limits of human reason, suffering, futility, and shared sorrow, our breaths drew with a catch. Bent and shaking, with a leathered face that had known war, her husband spoke with gravel in his voice. I remember when we were young, in love in Lafayette, she was a wild woman who said that cruising her red convertible at speed in the thick roux of bayou air under a naked sky with a full moon must be like flying for a hawk. And it tasted best with your eyes closed, screaming, even with occasional detour over the weeds and through the cattails, sloshing the shallow silver surface of the Crescent River. She wouldn't want this.
The next poem, titled Two, written by S.R. Lee. Two human souls at ease, one with another, have lived together 50 years. Still there are two. On any day, the two brains may be simply going different paths to the same place, maybe wandering in opposite directions, maybe each in a separate galaxy. One only vaguely, instinctively aware of the other, like the sun and the moon reflecting light or occasionally obscuring one another. Yet somehow the light of one star travels across the universe to collide with light from the other. The two lights intermingled might appear as one to an observer. Do the lights feel stranger joined together or stronger? Their shared light glows its tiny way through space.
This is a poem that I wrote entitled Yes to Something Else. I dwell on straight lines I can no longer draw. I will tell you a story and take questions after. One day I became curious about a portrait of my late wife who was in another room. Standing up is effort, and I asked my daughter to go see if she was crooked. She returned and said that I was wrong. Mother was hanging nice and straight. We both took this as a yes to something else. Question, why was I curious? Question, why did I stay seated? Question, why did my daughter straighten my question? Question, why should right angles rule the world? Why was I curious? Curiosity is primarily my defense against boredom, which scholars say was invented, like so much else we think older, in the 19th century and had been a prime affliction of modernity ever since, which has something to do with too much luxury, too much peace, colonial expropriation, the Protestant ethic, and the death of God. Why did I stay seated? We've been sitting longer than we've been bored. The leap to humanity and evolution was less a jump than a standing up. Yet, in the late age of our species, and as in the late age of individuals, something has happened to being human. These days, we do more sitting than standing, and the pressing weight of gravity seems to have increased. At least it has for me. Michael Oakeshott once said that it is in conversation that we have left behind our tales, worn them off from so much sitting. Why did my daughter straighten my question? My daughter's hermeneutics, well, she is superintendent of my presuppositions. She is adept. Listening with the inner ear is needful for old men, and it comes naturally to her now. In fact, it does for both of us. She read in my mind that the picture was crooked, but then why would I ask her to go look to see if it was, instead of telling her to straighten it? She still gets to choose what is on the next page of the book we are reading together. In what I said, rather than see the invisible hand of impending dementia, she opted to see a visible expression of my solicitous respect for her, my love. She doesn't mind requests, but bristles at commands. An exemplary woman of her time and place today, in her small theaters, dear freshness, and the deep down things. When we become bored with the other book, or frightened of Time's Messenger on its next page, you will have guessed that we turn to Gerard Manley Hopkins and Andrew Marvell. Why should right angles rule the world? Silly question, crooked question. The day has come to set aside outside looking in and take up seeing from the in-betweens. It's time to tamp down fearful, is it questions and raise up it is affirmations. Think green thoughts in green shades, remembering at least this much. Green angles are oblique.
Clockwork by Catherine Moore. Such an unformed woman in need of an atomic rhythm. Each day rolled bright to dark, without a stretch of sky or thought. The invisible now restrained, timely as pollen pushes stem, to elapse into color and wilt again.
Next poem is by George Spain, entitled Around the Courthouse. Old men sitting, spitting. Old men sunning, funning. Old men sassing, gassing. Old men joking, smoking. Old men piddling, whittling. Old men lying, dying.
Blessed are the Firefighters, written by VeerajaR, that's me. Raging fires in California, Oregon, spewing blankets of smoke across multiple states, and the rising sun, a fiery redness of Saharan desert, massed behind, humanity gasping for breath across the globe, wrapped in the wrath, aftermath of futile wars, politics, and bureaucracy, defining borders, race, and ethnicities, dividing in the name of God and religion, widening the gaps, counting dollars, generating haves and have-nots. Too many garbage, bottled water, bottles finding their way, Like the coronavirus across the oceans, no borders for pollution, or the pandemic, raging like the fires. Let us each be relentless, like a blessed firefighter. Thank you for watching Poets from the Neighborhood. We hope you'll join us again soon.